Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, and I want to say Shalom to Akmanakwath out there, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. Excuse me, and this is another edition of What Does It Really Mean? And today we're following up yesterday's lesson of dealing with mediator, or what does it mean to mediate? And today we're dealing with the word, and we touched on it just a little bit yesterday. We didn't get too much into it, not to spoil today's lesson. We're dealing with the word intercession, all right? To intercede, okay? And we see that in, really, we do technically see that in 1 John 2 and 1, as we showed yesterday through the, if we get the Greek, we'll go over there. That's why I left it up. And we do technically see the word, we see the word intercessor, okay? So intercession, to intercede or to be an intercessor, all right? And, don't get too wrapped up in those, not knowing what that is, because, of course, that's what this lesson serves to do, is get you familiar. What does it mean? What does it really mean? And the whole purpose, I haven't explained in a while, but I've said it in previous editions of What Does It Really Mean? The whole purpose of the What Does It Really Mean series is to help you become more informed about the terminology that is within the Bible, okay? There's a lot of words. We're smack dead in the middle of what Esau is calling a literacy crisis, and it's not that people don't necessarily know how to read, it's that their reading comprehension is dog, right? It's crap, all right? And people can read something, but they won't be able to tell you what it means. Okay, I've played videos of it before. It's not just Jake. They show a lot of Jake videos, and the guy that got famous for doing those videos himself is a Jake, so of course he's in a Jake area, Jake school. That's where it's going to be. So Esau likes to take it as it's only so-called black individuals that have the issues with the reading comprehension and the literacy, and that is not the case. All right, I can tell you firsthand experience it's not the case, because my little cousin is not so-called black. She is white, and she can't read for shit. And people I've worked with, people I do work with, people I've worked with in the past, they can't comprehend anything. They don't know what's going on. Okay, they have no idea, because Esau, all right, and it's really all through Yahweh Shai, because he controls them. They've bred Esau, the Lord's allowed it to happen, because really those people are none of his, have bred a perfectly, the perfect servant, right? They believe everything at face value, and if they don't, well, they really don't know what to believe. If they don't necessarily believe the narrative, they don't know necessarily what they do believe. They just, I don't believe that. Well, what do you believe? I don't know, but not that. And you'll ask them why they don't believe it, and they can't really give you they'll just say it's bad. Well, why is it bad? It's just bad, okay? Well, that's not really a good way to explain anything. I mean, they're unable to speak their minds, because their minds don't understand how to put words to their thoughts, if it is that they're even having thoughts, whatever's going on up there, right? So, but even, individuals that haven't gone through, the school system in the last, 10 years where it's really gotten bad, we need to have practice makes perfect, as what they say. And we need to keep our minds sharp, okay? We need to keep our minds sharp. And with that, learning words and understanding definitions, because a lot of the time people just don't know it. And that's another important thing why reading a context clues are a big thing, because using context clues, you can work out what a definition or what a word means, depending on the scenario and how it was used in there. But some people don't have that. Some people aren't so great at that, and that's fine. All right, everybody has different things that they're good at. But when it comes to the Bible, what's the word I want to use? I don't want to just use the word important. We can use that. I want to use something more integral. It is integral, okay? It is integral. We need it for our success to understand the words that are being spoken, All right. Now let's go and define integral. Integral. Okay. That's the mathematics. Everyday meaning, essential. Used as an adjective meaning necessary or fundamental. Okay. Fundamental. We need it. Okay. Necessary, fundamental. We have to have it. It's not optional. Okay. We have to have it. So anyway, long opening, but now we're going to get into what is intercession. So that's what the series seeks to do through Yahweh Shem Shai, Lord will, and to find out what these words really mean. And through that, just with one or two words, have you seen, there's a lot of edification that can be brought, and it's something that's quick, easy, simple. Brothers that want to make lessons like this, do it, man. It's great. It's, you know, it's not something where you have to spend hours piecing together a lesson. You just go and roll with it through the Spirit, and the Most High will guide you where you need to be. And I mean, just all you need is the scriptures, the BLB, Esau's dictionary, Johnson's dictionary here, right? Johnson's dictionary online, and then sometimes etymology. We're going to use the etymology today. I didn't yesterday, but we're going to use it today because we're going to get a whole bunch of varieties of what this word intercessor means. So without any further ado, we're going to start right up with it. So yeah, in 1 John 2 and 1 through 2, not 2, excuse me. And we are going to, I was looking into the word propitiation. I know I said we may or may not do something about that. I think I'm going to skip over it because really all it means is, what did it say? It said one specific word, propitiation. All right. Basically basically like the sacrifice, but they use it in a different word. What was it? Let me see what it is. Oops. Let me just do it this way. If we get the word here, propitiation, where was it? An atonement. All right, he's the atonement for our sin, and we talked about that yesterday. All right, he was essentially the sacrificial lamb, and so you know you see it in appeasing, a means of appeasing, a propitiation, an atonement. Okay, so and we know that, right? But that's what propitiation means. Okay, that's one of the words that you can look the definition up, but you're not going to get too much just looking into the word like that. Maybe if you pull it up on the etymology, you can, but today we're going to continue on with intercession. So we're going to close out of 1 John 2 and 1 through 2, because really the only thing that we're dealing with that today is just showing you as, again, in the end of yesterday's lesson, as part of the definition of parakletos, all right, going back into him being our advocate, our mediator. It says right here, one who pleads another's cause with one, an intercessor. So an intercessor. So let me write down a couple words. We're going to need intercessor. I'm going to write that one down. Intercessor. Of course, we already have intercession, but we also need to write down intercede. Okay, so intercession, an intercessor, and intercede. Okay. So an intercessor intercedes by making an intercession, right? So let's get it. Where do we want to go first? Where do we want to go first? You know what? First, we're going to read Hebrews 7 and 25, which is the first scripture that we got that is going to have the word intercession in it. And it reads, Hebrews 7 and 25, wherefore he is able also to save them to the uttermost that come unto Yahweh by him, seeing he ever liveth to make intercession for them. And there it is again. We mentioned it yesterday. Another thing that proves that the Son is not the Father and the Father is not the Son. They are two separate entities that are working together as one, but they are not the same being. Okay? As it says here, listen close, open your ears, and listen close. Wherefore he is able also to save them from the uttermost that come unto Yahweh by him. That come unto Yahweh by him. So they come unto the Father by the Son. See how that wouldn't make the sense to be two separate entities? All right, or Slakia, that's Satan. See how that wouldn't make sense for it to be one singular entity? Because it doesn't make sense. All right, there are two separate entities, and the Bible proves that over and over and again, as we mentioned yesterday. Christians just don't read their Bible. So, wherefore he is able also to save them to the uttermost that come unto Yahweh by him, seeing he ever liveth to make intercession for them. Okay, let's break that down a little bit easier for the modern ears, right? NLT. Therefore, he is able once and forever to save those who come to Yahweh through him. He lives forever to intercede with Yahweh on their behalf. Now, NRSVU. Consequently, he is able for all time to save those who approach Yahweh through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them. And then finally, the Ant Bible. Therefore, he is able also to save forever, completely, perfectly, for eternity, those who come to Yahweh through him, since he always lives to intercede and intervene on their behalf with Yahweh. So, there you go. So, going back, we can take this word intercession, all right? We know, with the easier breakdowns, right, that first of all, we have to go through the Father, all right, or through him to get to the Father, which is in direct reference, and we've gotten this already in these little mini 3 lessons that I've done. No man can but through me. John 14:6. Yahushua saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. We got this a couple days ago, I believe, dealing with it, and we're going to get it again today. We're going to continue to get this anytime something comes up that we can directly show that the Father and the Son are two completely different individuals. They are different individuals. I won't say completely different because they are very similar in a lot of ways, but they are two different individuals, two different entities, okay? For example, we know that the Father is above the Son. Now, if we take that into correlation, and people say, oh, the Father is the Son, and the Son is Father, so that means the Son is not greater than the Father, but the Father is He, because he's the Son, so he's not greater than himself. He also called out to himself on the cross, and also no one can reach the Father but by the Son, who is the Father. See how none of that makes sense? It's because it doesn't make sense, and it's a direct correspondent of Christians not reading their Bibles, right? That's what it is at the end of the day. So, intercession. What does it mean? What does it really mean? What does it really mean? Okay, because we know we have to go through the Son to get to the Father, and we know that the Son continues on forever to intercede on our behalf, all right, to the Father, Yahweh. But what does that mean? What does it mean to intercede? What is an intercession, right? Well, let's go find out what it really means. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to get Esau's definitions, all right? And most of the time, these are horrible, as they are, but we're going to go and look it up. And it's not Merriam-Webster. It's just whatever Google decides to throw out into the mist. So, intercession.
Intercession. The
act of pleading, praying, or intervening on behalf of another person. All right? So, basically, we can write that down in little notes. Pleading, pleading slash intervening, which we got to go find out what intervening means, right? Pleading, intervening. What does intervening mean? Marked up my keyboard. Hold up. 1 minute. 1 minute. All right. Slack you for that. I didn't click my pin shut and dragged it all across my space bar on my keyboard and left this ugly ass mark. But it's gone now. Came off with a little bit of alcohol. So let's go, before I was interrupted. And so intercession. What does it mean to intervene? Intervening. Okay? So intervening. What does that mean? Intervening. Okay? Intervening means happening, located, or coming between 2 points in time, events, or physical spaces. Time, space, or action. Here we go. This is the one we're looking for specifically. Action. Acting as the present participle of intervene. All right, to intervene. If you intervened, you are intervening. All right, or you intervened in past. All right, past tense. This is meaning to step into a situation to help, change, or stop an argument or a situation. Not necessarily an argument, but it could be a situation, could be a multitude of things that you're trying to stop, help, or change, okay? So, meaning to step into a situation to help, change, or stop something, right? So, in this case, Yahushua steps into a situation to help us, all right, to change the outcome of a situation. For example, him being the sacrificial lamb essentially stopped us from being, what's the word I want to use? Essentially weighed down by like sins. We couldn't do anything about it. Well, I mean, we could do the animal sacrifice and stuff like that, but now it's, no excuses. All right, you can repent. We have the opportunity of repentance. All right, it's a blessing, really. We have the blessing of repentance, because without it, we'd be screwed. So that's something that stopped something. It stopped the animal sacrifice. It changed, all right, the way and the opportunities that we had, and it helped us. Okay, that was something that helped us. It gave us a ability that we did not have until Yahushua stepped in. So that was an intervention. There's another word: intervention, intervene, intervened, intervening. Right. So basically, they're contributing the same definition to intercession. Okay, intercession is a little bit different though. So intercession is the act of pleading, praying. All right, and I will write down that one as well. Praying. Okay, and intervening on behalf of another person. Core meanings and context. See, religious prayer. See, brings up. While intervene does not have that same connotation, intercession does. Okay, right here, religious prayer. In a spiritual context, it is known as intercessory prayer, where a believer asks the Lord for mercy, healing, or help for someone else. Okay, and Yahushua does this for us, but we can also do it for our brothers and sisters. Pray for one another is one of the big scriptures that comes up. This is James 5 and 16 specifically, but it looks like it gave us a whole bunch of lists. So we'll hit a couple of them off. But James 5 and 16, that's the one I was thinking of. Confess your faults one to another and pray one for another. So essentially, we are acting as an intercessor for our, brethren and the sisters, the Akim and Akwath out there, right? We are, stepping in to pray for them. Okay, now at the end of the day, we can't change anything, but our prayers do have weight. All right, what a prayer is essentially us making we're essentially begging. All right, we're begging the Lord for something. All right, whether it's forgiveness or an opportunity or something, but what we're doing is we're really stating our case and hoping that the Lord takes it. Okay, so we can do that for another individual and send up prayers because we do know, all right, if we are right, all right, the fervent prayer, I spelt that wrong, I believe. Fervent prayer, James 5 and 16, confess your faults one to another. Well, that's the same one, Slakia. See, that's why you need to read on. Anyway, James 5, I got ahead of myself. James 5 and 16, confess your faults one to another and pray for one another that you may be healed. The effectual, fervent prayer, fervent is, it's kind of in the word, you can see. It's like feverish, the burning, the hot, all right, a good prayer, all right, of a righteous man, availeth much. The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. So if you look into fervent, having or showing very strong, sincere, and passionate, all right, it's burning, right, burning, all right, feeling or enthusiasm for someone. So let's see, right here, it comes from the Latin word fervens, which means to boil or glow. Okay, so it's dealing with the heat, that heat. Okay, so the effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. So it gets a lot done. Okay, so we should pray for one another. So, and that's us essentially interceding, being an intercessor, playing the role of the intercessor for an individual. Of course, Yahushua is also, all right, the intercessor for that individual as well. But again, it's all part of this ministry. All right, we pray for one another, we help one another, and Yahushua does that as well. Right? That's who he is. That's what this is all about. Okay, we have our leaders, and that's how we're supposed to be. All right, Yahushua is an example of how we're supposed to be. Okay, so if he would do it, it's something most certainly we should do. So mediation, they're going back to yesterday's lesson, mediation, right? Mediation in secular use, it means acting as a go-between or using your influence with an authority figure to help reconcile two parties or save someone from punishment. Well, that's not necessarily just secular use either, which means, not of a believer or biblically believing individual, secular, someone who we would say in the world, right? They're saying that's a secular use. No, that's biblical as well. Yahushua is essentially a third party, they say, or a go-between, however you want to say it, who uses his influences with that authority figure, and that authority figure would be Yahweh, to help reconcile. And this is what? The ministry of what? Reconciliation. Again, we talked about that yesterday. So two parties, to help reconcile two parties, in this case, us, all right, and Yahweh, with Yahushua acting as that mediator, or go-between, as it says here, to save someone from punishment, okay? And who would be the ones being punished? Us. So who helps us and intercedes and acts as the mediator on our behalf? Yahushua, okay? Historical use. In ancient Roman history, it referred to a magistrate or tribune using a veto to block an action. That's not really relevant in what we're talking about today. Key elements of intercessory prayer. It says the intercessor, a person who prays or stands in the gap on behalf of another. The subject, an individual, group, or nation in need of grace, protection, or intervention. It would, in this case, an individual. Say you're praying for someone that's sick. All right, you would, pray on behalf of them. All right, and for example, they might not be able to pray. They might be sick. They might be unconscious, or however it might be, or they might be conscious and well, but you're still gonna, help try to, boost that prayer out. All right. The recipient, the higher power or authority, such as Yahweh, being petitioned. That's the word I was looking for earlier. We're essentially making a petition unto the Lord, all right, with our prayer. That's what a prayer is really a petition, all right? If we look up what petition means.
Petition.
Now, it's going to say written here, but in this case, with us, it's spoken. A petition is a formal, written, in this case, spoken request asking an authority, Yahweh, all right, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, through the Son, right? To take a specific action or grant relief. And that's what we're doing. We're making a formal request, all right, in this case, orally, all right, to that authority figure who is Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, in the name of the Holy Spirit, to take a specific course of action or grant relief from maybe our pain, or to help us get a job, or to help us with this, or to help us with that. It is a petition. So essentially what we are doing is making a petition. A prayer is a petition, okay? So once you look into it, you look into prayer as being a petition and an intercession and a mediator, it starts to really line up how this is like a court of law, right, that we're dealing with. And you have the judges, right? We have the judges, and then we have Yahweh, we have the Son, the mediator, who is like our lawyer. So it's really, on the grand scale of things, we're in a divine court of law, okay? And we have to plea, all right, and make our intercession, which is or our prayer, all right, and hopefully at the end, all right, and currently now, all right, reach a deal. Right now we're reaching, we're still in the process of reconciliation, but hopefully our outcome that we're hoping for, because in a court of law, you're always looking for a specific outcome, and the specific outcome that we're looking for is hopefully being members of the elect. Now, that's something that the governing body really already decided. We have no idea of the choice. We can have bits and pieces of things that show that, we might be in a good light, we might be in a bad light, or another person might be in a good light or a bad light. It's easier to prove someone is a 2/3 than to prove them as the elect, right? Because the elect, they might be an individual that's still out in the world and they haven't woken up yet, right? So, that's a 2/3. Well, they might be a 1/3. Or, the Apostle Har, he believes that the elect's pretty much sealed, which could very well be the case as well. We're not seeing a whole bunch of people that are, we're actually seeing an all-time high of scoffers right now. All right, if you look at the lessons that brother like Elder Manatha Zatba, all the brothers really. I mean, Elder Apostle Gabar has been making quite a few lessons. There's a lot of scoffers and mockers coming out the woodworks, especially right now. More so, but we remember 2020. We remember what happened. Y'all got quiet as hell. All right. It was like that one Christmas song. It was the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. And that's how it was in 2020. All right, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse when it came to this ministry. Everybody was, watching and listening, and really they were fucking terrified. Okay, the scoffing, and there were still scoffers there. Don't get it twisted, but it really settled down for a minute because people were terrified. Because here it is, you have this group of individuals, primarily GMS being the ones that are bringing it out, and those that teach in the same style as them and learn from them, such as myself, that are bringing out, this is, there's going to be situations. Well, really, this was them because I came in around 2019, right? I can't remember exactly when it happened. I remember it was just a little bit before the pandemic, and they were talking about it, all right, over and over and over again. The Lord's going to bring plagues on this place. He's going to destroy this place. And there were scoffers and scoffers and scoffers and scoffers and scoffers, and everybody was talking their shit. And then all of a sudden, the world shut down in a matter of a week or two, all right? Boom. Everything just ceased and stopped. And everybody got real quiet. There wasn't so many mockers at that time, all right? I remember seeing it. I lived through it. I was there. All right, my two eyes is my testimony. All right, I remember what I saw. I remember what I heard. There were still scoffers, but not as much. And then soon as the freedoms got, given back. All right, as soon as Esau let the freedoms come back and all the stores were opening and you could go do concerts again and all that shit, you could go back to your mirth, right? All the scoffers picked right back up. See, I knew y'all motherfuckers didn't know anything. Ha 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 ha. Right? And since then, you've had a bunch of situations happen. You've had Brother Politebeat go to prison. You had a lot of scoffers and mockers and people that are against the ministry die. You had who was it? Was it TD Jakes? It was TD Jakes, right? Yeah, TD Jakes, not him. They say is not TD Jakes. There was another one I'm thinking of, not TD Jakes. What was his name? Oh man, famous black pastor died. No, not Jesse Jackson. Last 6 years. What was his name, man? No. Frederick Price. No, man, who was it? I can't. I'm drawing a blank on it. But there was an individual. There was a couple individuals though. His son's still at it. That's the one I'm thinking about. I can't remember. Anyway, we're not going to waste airtime on it. But anyway, a lot of people that came against the truth. All right, incarcerated, dead, been falled out, bugged out, left. I mean, we've had a lot of things happen since then. I mean, you've had the whole situation with Gorilla Hebrew, and then Haka, he left, and then he went on to do his own thing, which apparently he's taken a step back from that. I don't know what the current event is on that, because that guy's a fucking maniac. And then now you got all this shit that's going on with Elder Gabar, not Apostle Gabar of GMS, but Elder Gabar of GOCC. And this is a lesson that was put out by the Apostle Gabar. Again, don't get the two confused. Elder Gabar is of GOCC. Elder Apostle Gabar is one of the head apostles of Great Millstone. And now you got this guy, the brothers are all making lessons on him. Elder Gabar, he's a bug out, and I guess they're doing the whole thing with, as it is, once you start really bugging out as one of the big camp leaders, what ends up happening is you end up going straight to Gentile salvation. All right, that's what Haka, all right, he was one of the big camp leaders. He started going in with, because he and Gorilla Hebrew both were of Sakari, all right, that group that was called Sakari. I don't know about Gorilla Hebrew. He just basically said doesn't want to be associated with the Hebrew Israelites at all. So really, he don't fucking matter at all. He took his step back. He did whatever he did. And then Haka, he's not really, he's more like in a Christian ministry with Hebrew Israelite flavorish elements. I don't even know what you want to call that. Madness is what it really is. And now he's taking a step back. But one of the things is when these camp leaders or these prolific members that you see, like Gorilla Hebrew, he was prolific. People watched him for his controversies and shit. One of the things they do when they start really losing the sauce that they've never really had, but they really start losing it expeditedly, Gentile salvation, right? When their ministry starts crumbling, what can we do? What can we do? Aha! Gentile salvation, right? That's the thing that they go to. So, of course, Elder Gabar of GOCC is going and doing that. I'm not informed on the whole situation. There's a lot more to it than that. I guess it all really stemmed from a visit that individual did to the apostles when they were alive. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's where it stemmed from. Well, there's a lot of bug outs, and I mean, you can go and look on the Elder Menat Zatbaz page. Of course, they don't want to show it now. It's somewhere. I can type it in quicker than that, but you can just GMS South Carolina. Wait, there it is. Go to here. Boom. And you see, look, stop line on the Hebrew Israelites. These Hebrew Israelites are a big mess. What's going on with the Hebrew Israelites? But I got a video that I'm doing in a couple days, Lord willing. In between these, what does it really mean about this individual? I don't know what he's calling himself. Something about Golgotha or what is it? No, Agartha, Uncle Agartha, and he's just a fucking, he's an Edomite. All right, he's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, leprous Edomite devil that thinks he knows more. He wants to make fun of the Hebrew Israelites and do the whole white Hebrew Israelite movement thing. And there are people that are actually, they call themselves white Hebrew Israelites. They're actually a real group that really do believe that it's actually really the white people who are the Hebrew Israelites, and that, that's the remnants and evidence of that comes from England with all of the signs, of course, but all that land, was taken over. All right, which you don't really get into your history. You don't know about why the Dark Ages were called Dark Ages. You don't know about the 1,000 years where Esau was in captivity under Jacob. All right, so-called melanated individuals, black individuals, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You don't know about the Moors. You don't know about any of that. And so they just go off of it because, again, it's their superiority white supremacy complex that they have. And if you're going to have a superiority complex, if you're going to try to, boost, one nationality over the other, you at least have to have some substantial evidence for it. And these people are talking about the Bible. They're using the Bible as their main method of, proof. When in Revelation 1 and 14, it lets you know that the Lord is not a so-called so-called white man. Excuse me, Satan again. He's not a so-called white man. All right. It lets you know in the book of Daniel, all right, that the Father, all right, is not a so-called white man. Simeon, all right, his name, Simeon, who was called Niger, all right, not Niger, Niger. That's how that word's actually pronounced, which is dangerously close to the word that we all know, right? And what does that word itself mean? Dark skin or dark, okay? So you go into that, and then you look into that, and then you look in. There's so many different color scriptures all throughout the Bible that you can't preach that those individuals were white individuals, or that whatever the fucking method that you're trying to point to your madness being truth is. It just doesn't work, all right? But anyway, back to the subject. We have all these individuals that are doing that, and it does not go well for them at the end. But anyway, so here we are. Let's get out of here and get over to here. Hebrews 7 and 25. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to look up intercession right here. Boom. And again, New Testament, so it's going to be in Greek, and it's going to be Strong's G1793. See it right here. Intuncano. I'm going to mess that one up. Let's hear it.
Strong's G1793. Entuchano. Entuchano.
Entuchano. Okay? And it means a couple different things. To light upon a person or a thing, fall in with, hit upon a person or a thing. So it's not meaning that. 2, to go to or meet a person, especially for the purpose of conversation, consultation, or supplication. Now, what is supplication? Supplication is what? Earnest plea or prayer for help, mercy, or favor directed towards a deity or a person in a position of authority. So that one does work, okay? So it's essentially on behalf of another. 3, to pray, to entreat. For to make intercession for anyone. So entreat works here. What does entreat mean? To ask someone for something in a serious, emotional, or earnest way. So there you go. To ask for something serious. All right. Ask for something. Ask seriously for something. Okay. Add that to the list. So pleading, intervening, praying, ask seriously for something. All right. In this case, on behalf of another. And then to make intercession for anyone. To make intercession for anyone. There we go. So now we're going to get the word intercession. Well, actually, what do we want to do? Let's get the Johnson's dictionary first. Intercede. Okay. To intercede. To. That's the one we're looking for. It can also mean to pass between. All right. Between two things. Right. But to is what we're looking for. To mediate. There we go. Yesterday's lesson. To mediate. To act between two parties with the view of reconciling differences. It has with if only one part be named, and between if both be named. So, same thing if we go back to the older version. So, intercede. Now, let's look up intercession. Okay, intercession. Mediation, interposition, agency between two parties, agency in the cause of another. So, agency in the cause of another. So, you're working on, not working necessarily on the behalf, but you're helping on the behalf of another. Generally in his favor, right? Sometimes against him, but usually in his favor, right? And Yahushua is in our favor, all right? Because he is our, he's, again, he's, I don't like using that term because people with modern English, they get it confused. He's our helper. Like it's not like we have a servant. He's not our servant, but he helps us. He helps us in all ways, shapes, and forms. But it's not like, oh, he's our helper. That people would think nowadays. All right, a helper nowadays is likened unto a servant. All right, and Yahushua is most certainly not a servant of ours, but he is our helper of us. He helps us. Okay, he makes intercession. He again restores good relations between two parties. He helps reconcile, all right, between two parties, and helps us with our plea, essentially, right? So intercede, intercession. We don't really need to get intercessor, but we will. Intercessor, a mediator, an agent between two parties to procure reconciliation, as I just mentioned, right? To procure reconciliation. That's the ultimate goal, reconciliation, a good outcome, all right, for the two parties' relations to be restored, okay? So there you go, intercession, intercede, intercessor, all right? So now we got the Johnson's dictionary for all those. Now, let's go and get Romans 8 and 34, and then from there, we're going to get the etymology and then close out, right? So this is actually a little bit, I thought it was shorter than yesterday's. It's actually a little bit longer than yesterday's, I believe. Let me see. 43 minutes. So, no, they'll be about the same after I'm finished, Lord willing. So, we can close out at Hebrews 7 and 25. And again, Romans 8 and 34. This is where we're moving to. It says, who is he that condemneth? It is Hamashiach, it's Yahushua, right? That died, yea, rather, that is risen again, who is even at the right hand of Yahweh. He's at the right hand of himself? No. Showing you again. I know, I'm driving it in. I'm rubbing salt in the wound. And I'm going to rub salt in the wound because it's ridiculous that these Christians somehow came to the connotation and the idea that the Father and the Son are the same. It doesn't make any sense if you just read your Bible. Who is even at the right hand of Yahweh, Father, who also maketh intercession for us. There we go. NLT. Who then will condemn us? No one. I don't like how it says no one, but because the Lord can, Yahweh can most certainly condemn us. So I'm going to skip no one because notice how the other translations don't put it that way. Okay. Who then basically, I'm going to skip that. The NLT doesn't really got it going on in that regard. I'll just use the first part of the NRSV where it says, who is to condemn? Who is to condemn? Now going to the NLT, it says, for Hamashiach Yahushai died for us and was raised to life for us, and he is sitting in the place of honor at Yahweh's right hand, pleading for us. There you go. But they went off with no one's going to condemn us. No, we can most certainly be condemned. Romans 8:34, NRSVU, it says, who is to condemn? It is Hamashiach who died, or rather who was raised, who is also at the right hand of Yahweh, who also intercedes for us. And finally, the AMP Bible. Who is the one who condemns us? Hamashiach Yahushai is the one who died to pay our penalty, and more than that, who was raised from the dead, and who is at the right hand of Yahweh, interceding with the Father for us. There you go. So there's that word intercession. And then finally, what we're going to do before we close out is we're going to get a couple of these words here. We're going to look up intercession. We're going to look up intercede. And we're going to look up intercessor. Okay. So, intercession, 1500s, act of interceding, especially intercessory prayer. There, we already got that right. A pleading on behalf of another. Or, Slakia, a pleading on behalf of oneself or another. You can make intercession for yourself as well. You know, that's prayer. That's what prayer is essentially an intercession. But Yahushua intercedes on our behalf. Essentially, you know, I don't want to say praise to the Father because, again, he has direct contact. But essentially, going into prayer, being that it's a pleading, it's a, what's the word I used earlier? It's with a P, not a plea, pleading, you know what? Here's how we do it. Where was it? Petition. That's the word I was looking for. Petition. Okay, essentially, praying is a petition. So, essentially, he's not necessarily praying for us, but he is, bringing our petition up unto the Father and essentially petitioning for us as well, right? So it says from Latin intercessionem, nominative intercessio, a going between, coming between, mediation. Okay, again, not anything that we haven't heard before, but again, making sure we get the whole idea so we understand what it really means. Noun of action from past participle stem of interceder, all right, intervene, to come between, to be between, and medieval Latin, to interpose on someone's behalf, for which seed intercede, which we're getting next, Lord willing. It says the sense pleading on behalf of another developed in Christianity, but that's what it means. Okay, a going between, you're coming between, and mediation. That's what that's what that is. Okay, so intercede, 1570s, to come between in space or time, to interpose on behalf of another. So what is interpose? What does it mean? What is interposing? Okay, interpose, to place or insert or come between two things. Okay, so to interpose on behalf of another, so to come between two things on the behalf of another. In this case, between us and the Father. It says a back formation from intercession, or else from Latin interceder. There it is again. Right here, especially to act between parties with a view to reconcile those who differ or content. There you go. So that's what it means. All right, to act between two or more parties with the view to reconcile them. There we go. So the etymology pretty much lines up. Seed means to yield, to go between, or to go from, to proceed. So, and then intercessor, one who intercedes, right? One who pleads or intervenes on behalf of another. That's what it means. One who pleads or intervenes on behalf of another. So the easy definition of what it is it's someone who pleads, intervenes, prays, asks sincerely for something, or seriously for someone, or tries to restore relationships between two or more parties. All right, and they are essentially the third party that is trying to restore relationships with those individuals. And that is Yahushua for us, restoring relations through this truth, through the ministry of reconciliation with Yahweh. That's what it really means. So that's the lesson. How long did we end up going? Just a little bit longer than yesterday, right? So about 45, 46 minutes. So that's where we're going to close out. Lord willing, was edifying. I don't know what we're going to do next. I do want to get this video. There's actually, let me see, 3 of them. Was there another one that I got too? There might have been another one I got. There's another one I have saved on Instagram because, like I mentioned yesterday, those white Hebrew Israelite guys that were doing the thank you, Yakub, for creating me, that whole shit, they're back. They did another one. I may or may not get it because, again, those guys are just ridiculous. But this guy is legitimately really angry to the point where he's turning red in his videos. This new guy, he's not screaming or yelling too much. He is hollering, but his forehead gets all red. I mean, he's legitimately upset. He's legitimately upset. So we'll get into that, and I do have the video actually now that I look at it. And really what they're trying to do is the guy's dressed up. He's really just trying to be like Filthy Frank, if you really want to get down to it. If you don't know who that is, you can look him up. He's just trying to be and act like him. Be a controversy queen. That's what Esau is. They're a bunch of fucking effeminate little robots that like to just make controversy. And go right ahead, right? You can go and mock and scoff all you want, and you can get the reward for that in the end. But with that, we are going to close out. Lord, what was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwedash. Shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing. Shalom.